Okay, darling, come on up. Gretchen Christopher.
You asked me to talk about 1959.
No, I just asked you to talk. You can talk about anything you want, darling.
So I wore this skirt for
Yeah.
1959 with the poodle.
Wow.
And it just happens to match Raj's guitar. So when I was in high school, I started to put together a girl group and auditioned girls, and they kept getting louder and louder, and we were singing in the still of the night. And I said, softly, softly. And it turned into a song, and then walking downtown with a trumpet player who couldn't play in Barbara's and my key, and we couldn't sing in his key, he started going,
dum 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 doo dum dooby doo dum 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 doo dum dooby doo.
and I said, what is that? That's wonderful. And he said, it's just the jazz trumpet riff that I have in mind. And I said, well, keep it up. And I could tell it was based on the same chord progression as the song I'd been writing, Come Softly. So I put them together in counterpoint on a street corner in Olympia. And a year later, it was the #1 song in the United States. Come softly, darling. 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 Come to me, stay. You're my obsession forever and a day.
Yeah, that's enough, I think. That's so nice. And when I was 9 years old and I heard that, I just melted. I just fell in love with the song, and I didn't know who the Fleetwoods were, but I just loved that. That is one of my all-time favorite songs.
Thank you, Raj.
And wasn't it the biggest song in the world in 1959?
They had the only group to have 2 #1 songs in 1959. The only group to have 2 #1 songs in 1959, right?
The Fleetwoods.
Yeah.
Led by Gretchen.
Yeah, take that, Paul Anka.
Yeah. And so how did we meet?
Oh, how we met. Well, I will preface it by saying, even before writing Come Softly, because I was 18 then, but when I was 16, I met somebody. Actually, it was a blind date. He's sitting right over there, by the way. And we had best friends who wanted to date each other, but they didn't want to go alone, so they asked if we would do a blind date with them. Well, we ended up falling in love for the first time, both of us, when I was 16 and he was 18.
So how did you do it?
Good, that takes me off the...
A gentleman never tells.
A gentleman never asks. I am certainly not a gentleman, as some of you will attest to.
Well, Voss, which we were introduced by Dick Dunn, and he introduced me to Dick Vosberg, but that was confusing. The world has too many dicks. So I call him Voss, short for Vosberg. And we went steady for a year, and then he went off to University of Washington, and I pursued my career. King TV, I did dancing solo and duet and singing solo, Fools Rush In, and I thought that was very meaningful. Mm-hmm. Yes, they do, and thank goodness I did rush in, right? After 11 hit singles on the Billboard Hot 100 as the Fleetwoods and 2 #1 records as John was saying. So we met on a plane after I had been married and you had been married, and we'd each had children. And I had received a letter from that guy.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, there was an article in the newspaper. When I came back from performing in Europe, they asked if I would cooperate on an interview, which I did. And then I got a letter. Some woman sent this article to
Could we
her
just
son.
shorten this up a little bit, darling?
Aw, but it's such a neat story.
Yeah.
Okay.
We haven't got time for all these neat stories. So, check this out. We're on this plane. We're going down to L.A. She's going to go meet up with Voss for the first time in all these years.
I got a letter.
And so how did... You overheard me talking or something?
You just looked like a rock star.
And so you introduced yourself?
I think I asked you.
Yeah, and so I go back and start talking to her, and she's my hero, and it was so fun to meet you, and then we just hit it off really well, and we've been great friends ever since.
Yeah, well, what was interesting, what ties in with you, this was 1997 when we went on that plane ride, and I was going to meet Voss for the first time in 38 years. I hadn't seen him in 38 years. And he had written to me out of the blue because of this newspaper article. So what's interesting is that you and I each had our vision. Yours, you just said, had started 2 years before, 1995. You had this one...
The vision for one vision?
One vision, yeah. And I had a vision, too, to do all my songs, and I put them together in a way that told a story, which is very funny, because I thought I could do it on the year I turned sweet 16 as a leap year baby. And it took 3.5 years. So I released it at the end of 2007, 10 years after we'd met. It told stories, and it became a Billboard Critics pick for 10 best albums of the year. And then you started recording yours in 2008, right? Also putting them together in story form.
We'd actually been recording for a long time previous to that, but started putting it together. So we're just so much on a wavelength.
Yes,
it's pretty cool.
Absolutely. And also, my dance partner remembers that you recorded me on a song that he wanted that... I don't know. He still has a recording. So I recorded in his studio, too.
Yeah, and all this talk about recording makes me think that, gee, maybe we should hear the recording of Dreamboat Annie since it's the 40th anniversary.
Okay.
40th anniversary since it was released in the United States on this day, on Valentine's Day. And, hats off to Howard Leese, Steve Fossen, Mike Flicker, Mike DeRozier, Anna Nance, and Mike Fisher, and Shelley Siegel, and the whole team of people that launched a great band. Mike Fisher and crew, Dreamboat Annie, 40 years ago. This, all we could get is a really poor version of it, so it's going to look kind of small up here, but things will get better after we play this video. So here it is, folks, and I hope a lot of people up in Canada are watching this. You know, we owe a lot to the country of Canada because, man, we played up there a lot, and we loved living in Canada and loved the Canadian people, and Canada is all right by me. Okay, here we go. Dreamboat Annie.